I'm Tony Remus, and this is Tony Talks Back. Hello, my favorite listeners. I've been hitting the political bookshelf pretty hard lately in order to keep my facts straight and produce accurate and hopefully entertaining content on historical political philosophy. Today, I want to take an intentional break from that topic, both for my sake and yours as well. Of course, you could just decide to skip this episode and move on to other news and things of a political nature, but I urge you to stick around. I'd like to argue for one basic premise, that there is more to life, much more, than politics, because of the richness of the world around us and the incredible amount of uniquely individual experiences you are capable of. It would be a great tragedy to keep your mind locked in a one-dimensional pattern, seeing everything in shades of gray. Or at least it would be a tragedy if such a view also makes you unbelievably miserable. And I think the level of danger is high, that politics can trap you in a place you don't enjoy being in. To argue my point, I'm going to discuss certain debates around the topics of politics, religion, and atheism. I'll try not to get too bogged down with the details. The point is not the debates themselves, but the effect the debates have on the participants. Dave Rubin is a fairly well-known reporter, interviewer. He runs a show, The Rubin Report, or maybe it's Rapport, like the old Colbert Report. Anyway, I bring Dave up because he has this tradition of quote-unquote going dark from the media and internet. He'll take like a month out of the year and just unplug from the constant news cycle, political shenanigans, and various negative inputs you get from media consumption. I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm not currently in a position to do that in my own life, but if this podcasting gig ever gets big, I think a month media blackout for myself would be a well-deserved vacation from modern life. In an interview with Sam Harris, another fairly well-known public figure, on The Rubin Report, Sam and Dave discuss how the conversation around modern politics, in the realm of media and social media especially, are almost entirely a waste of time. You will almost never achieve anything from your efforts there. You're lucky to get back to zero, is how they phrased it. Though Sam Harris did say that, although his efforts were technically a waste of time, he still thought them necessary. But the politics and the media games were invariably distractions from Sam's academic interests, which happen to line up quite well with my own on the subject of consciousness. Sam is a neuroscientist, a PhD, actually, who studied philosophy in undergrad with a particular interest in the work of people like David Chalmers and Thomas Nagel, who are, of course, also very influential in my own life on the subject of philosophy of mind. No, seriously, I think Dr. Sam Harris might be my strangely aged alter ego. Sam's fascination with the mystery of consciousness, combined with a tendency towards skepticism, has led him for much of his life to search out a kind of atheistic spirituality. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this is because the subject matter for much of Sam's public speaking in the last decade has not been on atheistic spirituality or consciousness. He was effectively derailed from that debate for quite some time by none other than Bruce Wayne, Batman. Yes, the Caped Crusader foiled Sam's heinous plans to spread a secular awareness of meditation and a guide for useful practice. Ben Affleck, aka Batman, verbally attacked Sam Harris on the interview show Real Time with Bill Maher. Why, you ask? Because Sam had the audacity to argue that religious fundamentalism in the Muslim world was a bad thing. Shocking, I know, that an atheist would argue against religious fundamentalism. Ben accused both Sam Harris and Bill Maher, who took Sam's side, of politically motivated racism and bigotry. And the media, social media, everywhere, just ate it up. Become a patron of Tony Talks Back and get exclusive access to bonus content and a private RSS feed where you can download episodes and listen on your favorite podcast platform ad-free. Go to patreon.com/TonyTalksBack or click on the link down below. The fact that anyone anywhere validated Ben Affleck's completely ridiculous and irrational ad hominem attack betrays a deep ignorance of basic philosophical principles in the media. And I think the blame for the whole fiasco lies just as much at the feet of those echoing Ben Affleck's sentiments as it does at Ben's own. Sam Harris quickly found politics to be the central focus of interviews in the years to come, even though, as I've said, Sam's interests are much more erudite, abstract, and academic in nature. This is what worries me. Because, right, you can make the argument that Sam could have just ignored the media and done his own thing. And maybe he did play into it a little. But I can sympathize with wanting to get the record straight, to clarify your positions and argue against irrationality. I see those same traits in myself, and I don't want to lose my path towards a deeper enlightenment by following breadcrumbs into the forest. Hence this small reprieve from my own political discourse. Because I'm not just a liberal. I'm not just a member of the body politic. I am a free thinker and a philosopher, and I refuse to let others put me in a box and dictate what I think and say and respond to. The lesson here is, whatever you find interesting, whatever thread you're following in your search for truth and wisdom, don't let other people pull you off the trail. I perhaps came off as dismissive of the topic of political philosophy in the beginning of this episode, but if your chosen path is that of politics and questions about how society ought to be run and what the duty of a citizen is, by all means continue on your path. But you need to find a way to distance yourself from the toxicity, the negativity, the constant name-calling and ridiculousness that is modern politics. I don't think any good can come about from the Ben Affleck approach to politics. We have to find a wiser way. I do believe that the foundations of our society are important to learn about, and that preserving those things we think we ought to preserve from those foundations is part of our civic duty. I've done my best to represent and teach those foundations. I'll continue to do so in the future. But right now, I want to put my feet up, put my books down, and just lose myself in the absolute mystery of human consciousness, the terrifying and inevitable end to my own consciousness, and what it's all for, fundamentally. These questions are what drive my search for truth and wisdom. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna put on Dark Side of the Moon and chill out. Thanks for being you, dear listener. Catch you next time. If you enjoyed the show, like, subscribe, review, wherever you're listening. Share it with your friends, and become a patron on Patreon, or consider a one-time donation on PayPal. Take it easy.